Let me ask you a question that confuses a lot of people living in Korea. Have you ever received a yes here that slowly turned into a no? Not an angry no, not a clear rejection, just silence, delays, excuses. And you're left thinking, wait, did I misunderstand something? Did I do something wrong? If you've spent any real time in Korea, this probably didn't happen just once. Today, I want to explain why saying no is so hard in Korea, why people avoid direct answers, and why this has nothing to do with honesty, confidence, or being passive. This goes much deeper than that. This is one of the most common frustrations I hear from foreigners. At work, they tell me, they agreed in the meeting, but nothing actually happened. In dating, they didn't reject me, they didn't accept me either, they just slowly disappeared. In friendships, why can't they just say no? From a Western perspective, this is incredibly confusing. In many Western cultures, direct communication is seen as respectful. A clear no is honest. It saves time. It avoids misunderstanding. So when Koreans avoid saying no, foreigners often assume things like they're being fake, they're afraid of confrontation, or they don't know what they want. But those interpretations miss something important. Here's the key thing to understand. In Korea, saying no is not just expressing an opinion. It's an action that changes the relationship. A direct no can create tension. It can make someone lose face. It can disrupt group harmony. It can mark you as difficult or uncooperative. In many Western cultures, clarity protects the relationship. In Korean culture, the relationship protects clarity. That difference changes everything. From a young age, Koreans are trained to read situations, not just words. Instead of asking, what do I want to say? The instinctive question is often, how will this affect the relationship? So when a Korean avoids saying no, it's not weakness, it's risk management. They are choosing connection over expression. This is also closely connected to Korea's speed-focused society. Korea moves fast, and fast systems don't like friction. A clear no slows things down. It creates discussion. It creates discomfort. So instead of stopping the flow, people soften their refusal. I'll check. Let's talk later. Maybe next time. To foreigners, this feels unclear. To Koreans, it feels smooth. The goal isn't transparency. The goal is stability. Now let's go deeper. This is where history matters. For most of Korean history, society was highly hierarchical and collective. Your survival depended on your group, your family, your village, your position within the hierarchy. There was no safety net, no individual freedom in the modern sense, no real second chances. If you were rejected by the group, you didn't just feel awkward, you lost protection. Confucian values reinforced this mindset for centuries. Harmony mattered more than individuality. Indirect communication was safer than confrontation. Respecting hierarchy mattered more than expressing personal preference. Then came colonization. Then war. Then extreme poverty. In those conditions, relationships weren't emotional luxuries. They were survival tools. You needed people to survive. So Korean society learned something very early. Preserving relationships is more important than expressing refusal. That instinct never disappeared. It simply modernized. Today, Korea is fast, global, and hyper-connected. But the emotional software is old. So you still see the same patterns in offices, friendships, and dating. People avoid saying no, not because they don't know their boundaries, but because they're constantly calculating impact. Will this create tension? Will this damage the relationship? Will this make things awkward later? To Koreans, avoiding no feels considerate. To foreigners, it feels confusing. Both sides feel misunderstood. This creates psychological pressure for everyone. For Koreans, it can mean emotional suppression, people-pleasing, and difficulty setting boundaries. For foreigners, it often leads to overthinking, self-blame, and unnecessary anxiety. Foreigners think, why won't they just be honest with me? Koreans think, I'm being polite. Why is this a problem? This isn't a personality clash. It's a cultural survival clash. So what should you do if you're living in Korea? First, don't take indirect answers personally. Second, learn to read patterns, not promises. In Korea, silence is information. Delay is information. Tone is information. A soft yes often means, I don't want conflict. Once you understand this, you stop chasing clarity and start understanding context. That's when living in Korea becomes much easier. Koreans don't avoid saying no because they're dishonest. They avoid it because, for a very long time, staying connected meant staying alive. And that leads to the next question. If relationships are everything, who controls the hierarchy of relationships? In the next episode, we'll talk about status, hierarchy, and why rank quietly controls everyday life in Korea.